Hello and welcome to today's historic Best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video. Today's deck in question is Snow Blue Tempo, as I'm taken to calling it, which is really mono blue tempo with some snow bits, and other than that, it's similar to most mono blue lists that you've probably seen. Now, first we'll talk about the big cards that made me want to really make the deck, and are the cards in the thumbnail. First off is Saw It Coming. 3 mana counterspell that you can foretell for 2. It's a mono blue it's a mono blue tempo list, so there's going to be lots of counterspells, and this particular counterspell being at worst a normal nowadays counterspell, or at best a old school 2 mana counterspell. It's just nice flexibility, and because it can counter something, it's pretty much a catch-all, more or less. Also, we have 3 copies of Kira the Great Glass Spinner, 3 mana 2/2 Spirit with Flying. And the real reason why the secondary reason why we want to run this is creatures you control have, whenever this becomes the target of a spell or ability, for the first time each turn, you counter it. Basically allows us to get a one-time free way to sort of nullify enemy removal. And also another reason why we run it is we have a little bit of a spirit sub-theme, because you know me, I love my themes, and if I'm playing a deck, it probably has to have a theme for me to enjoy it. Adding to the spirit theme is the 3 copies of Ascendant Spirit, a 1 mana 1/1 Snow Spirit. Snow being also one of the reasons why we're running Snow, and it is a Snow Blue tempo, and Spirit for the aforementioned little Spirit package. Ascendant Spirit is a good little mana sink. For 2 Snow, it becomes a 2/3 Spirit Warrior. Then, after you pay the second chapter for 3 Snow basically gives it flying, and it becomes a 4/4. And then the third chapter for 4 Snow, if you've completed the other 2, it gets two +1/+1 counters and gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Draw a card. Ascendant Spirit does a lot of things aside from enabling Snow synergies and being a spirit. It's a good way to sink mana if you happen to run into a lot of lands that would normally flood you out. Its ability to remain relevant at multiple stages of the game, be it a 1-drop, or the ability to make it a 2/3 on curve, or the 4/4 on curve, or to make it big with 4 mana and draw more cards, all things that mono blue tempo decks really love to do and to run. And that is the base little core of the deck. We'll talk first about the sort of spirit sub-theme. With, first off, we have 4 copies of Shacklegeist, 2 mana 2/2 Spirit with Flying, where it can only block creatures with flying. This is technically a downside, but if we're doing well, our opponent won't have many creatures on the board that we need to worry about blocking to begin with. But if they do, we can use a Shacklegeist second ability to tap 2 untapped spirits you control to tap a creature you don't control. This is a way to tap down blockers if you need to, or if your opponent manages to slip 1 or 2 creatures under the radar when you don't have an ability to deal with it. Shacklegeist and another spirit gives you a nice option to turn off the creature in question. Yeah, you get that basket, honey. We're running 2 Rattlechains, 2 mana 2/1 Spirit with Flash and Flying, and when it enters the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof until end of turn. You can also cast spirit spells as though they have Flash. How do I word this? Rattlechains by itself, being Flash and Flying, is good because Flash is nice to hold up on our enemy's turn. Flying is nice, annoying, and evasive, which is what this deck loves. Also, the ability to cast the other spirits in the deck at flash speed, basically, is a nice little touch. But one of the low-key best points about the Rattlechains is the ability to, when it enters the play or enters the battlefield, give a existing spirit hexproof as another way to sort of shave off a removal spell or to fizzle a removal spell is probably low-key the best part about Rattlechains. And the last little spirit we have, simple 2 Spectral Sailors, 1 mana 1/1 Spirit Pirate that has flash and flying and 4 mana being able to draw you a card. Spectral Sailor is one of those cards that shows up in pretty much any version, at least anecdotally, that you'll see in a mono blue deck. It's pretty much everything you want it to be. Cheap fire early on, flash allows you to maintain a bit of surprise, and being able to pay 4 mana to draw a card as a mana sink, also if you run into flooding, is very nice. Of course, all of those things are good, but with all of the aforementioned spirit tribal synergies, just adds a little more gravy, as it were, on top of the Spectral Sailor. Next, we'll talk about your more support cards. 2 copies of Negate main board, pretty self-explanatory. Lots of good non-creature spells to counter. The ability to slip removal to get rid of removal spells or sweepers, or any non-creature spell that'll ruin your day is nice. 3 copies of Lofty Denial, as most of our deck is flying, so being able to cast this early on, it's almost always a it almost always acts as just a traditional counter spell, since most people will play out or use as much mana as they can in a turn, which is the thing you're supposed to do. We also have 3 copies of Opt. It's a simple 1 mana card draw and card filter selection. Pretty good card, self-explanatory while anybody runs it. I'm also running 3 Curious Obsessions, another all-star of the deck that runs back to Miss Burchett's initial victory with the mono blue tempo deck many moons ago. Nice little 1 mana 1/1 to, or 1 mana give a creature you control +1/+1, and it also lets you get some extra card draw out of it. All things the deck wants. Of course, sometimes you won't be able to attack, and at which point you'll lose it. But by that point in time, you've probably gotten 2 or 3 cards out of a Curious Obsession, at which point you're basically happy with the investment you've gotten out of it. The remaining little support creatures, we have 3 Pteramanders, nice little 1 mana 1/1 flying creature that can get big later on with the Adapt, and the Adapt being reduced by all of the, say, instants and sorceries and stuff. Helps get the Pteramander online quicker. Running 4 Siren Stormtamers is a 1 mana 1/1 flyer. Besides just being an okay body all on its own, the ability to pay 1 blue to get rid of spells or abilities that target you or something you control. Again, nice to get rid of, or to help fizzle like removal spells, or hell, even the occasional Thoughtseize if you have something juicy in your hand. Also running 3 Brazen Borrowers as a nice little, we'll call it a value engine, or more like it's good value for the card. Being able to bounce an opponent's non-land thing for 2 mana. Very nice, and something annoying that mono blue tempo players love to do. And the Brazen Borrower itself is a 3 mana 3/1 flash flying, is a pretty efficient creature, all things considered, to where, again, technically only being able to block creatures with flying is a downside, but if you are playing it correctly and you've gotten good draws, that particular line of text should very rarely come into play. Land base, pretty simple. 19 Snow Islands, 1 Castle Vantress for a little bit of card selection later on, 2 Faceless Havens as a creature that we can just kind of sit on, that's big and bulky. The Faceless Haven is another reason why we run Snow, but also the Faceless Haven being a changeling, basically, also turns on a little bit of the spirit little support items if you need to, is the reason that sets it over the top. Sideboard, being mono blue, I had to get a little bit creative, but I'm pretty proud of where it is. Grafdigger's Cages for some annoying graveyard decks will help you to counteract that. Also gets rid of the occasional Muxus or Collected Company if you're terribly scared of that. Aether Gust, good little hoser card against red and green decks. Also kind of works against much of the same things that a Grafdigger's Cage will. 2 Cerulean Drakes against other mono red deck, or well, against mainly red decks, but this is usually mono red decks. And it itself being a not terrible body is also very nice. Running 3 copies of Diamond Mare, which is one of my low-key favorite monocolor sideboard pieces. A nice little way to get some life gain in blue, which is a color that does not get life gain. Running 3 Raven forms is a sort of catch all or catch most removal. Being able to exile target artifacts or creatures is very nice, seeing how mono blue is very good at stopping things on the stack, but once they get to the actually on the board, mono blue intentionally or historically has difficulty dealing with it once it resolves. This gives our deck an ability to deal with something that historically it wouldn't be able to. I'm also running 2 Sword of Body and Mind. I know this might be a meme card for some people, but boy, I love this thing. Sword of Body and Mind is good against other mono blue deck, but you run into them every once in a while. The occasional mono green pile of good cards, or even elves, the protection from green can be more relevant than one would imagine. Also, the protection from green will sometimes, and this is very rare, but sometimes you'll get a plummet style effect that will hit, again, most of our flying creatures in the deck here. And that's a nice little thing, as well as generating more blockers if you need to with the wolf, if you manage to connect. And the sort of alternate win con of milling your opponent out is actually not as impractical of a thing to get as one would imagine. And that is the base list for Snow Blue Tempo. If you happen to only be here for the deck tech, that's fine. Like the video if you liked it, sub if you like me, and if you have any sort of questions or comments about, say, budget replacements or anything, that's what comments before. And if you're sticking around, we're going to go on now to game number 1. Game number 1 with Snow Blue Tempo. Oh good, we're going against the Lurrus deck. We'll go ahead and play first, again because we have a brain in our skull. This is honestly a pretty good hand. 4 lands, 3 spells, things to do with the mana. Can't ask for much more, honestly. I imagine Lurrus decks are usually more of the same. Lurrus sees play mostly in some Rakdos, Arcanist, or Sack deck, more often than not, and occasionally in some Orzhov, Auras decks. That's the only negative side about hitting Diamond and up, as a person who's been in the top 15% of Mythic and gets Diamond pretty regularly. It gets rather sweaty, you know? We'll go ahead and attack with the Spirit. Keep open a Lofty Denial if they try and get rid of something big. And if they don't, we can always activate the first chapter of Ascendant Spirit. Plains from our opponent. So it's an Auras deck, so we'll go ahead and just counter this. It's important that we actually manage to turn off a lot of their really important synergy pieces. We will... Yes, you scratch up that thing, honey. That's what it's there for. We'll to my original point, we'll play Siren Stormtamer to try and slip the dead weight, I believe is the most common form of removal, in Orzhov Auras. This deck I don't mind. This is a little less, like, spiky and tryhardy as a Rakdos-based deck, so I can do this. Lurrus goes into the hand, and we'll Chapter 1 Ascendant Spirit. We will just go ahead and attack like this. We'll go ahead and this will let us keep the slot coming open, as well as the ability to activate the second chapter, if you will, of Ascendant Spirit. Hateful Eidolon is fine. If they play the Lurrus, we are countering the Lurrus. It's too good of a card to let just stick around. Go ahead and play an island. I think we'll just, yeah, we'll go ahead and Curious Obsession the Spirit. Again, keeping open our mana to do the same Ascendant Spirit play, as well as keeping open a Stormtamer mana. We'll go ahead and just leave it be. I don't know every particular permutation of Orzhov enchantments, but other than like your dead weights, they don't tend to run a whole lot of removal spells main board. A white cartouche from our opponent. They are going to be able to start gaining a good amount of life with the Eidolon, but we're honestly okay with this, since we're wanting to just do more damage than they can heal. We'll go ahead and let that through. I don't want to... I was thinking about activating the Faceless Haven and trying to kill the Eidolon, but then I remembered the white cartouche gives first strike, and that would have been a bad time. See if our opponent tries to remove something. Ooh. We'll go ahead and do the final level up for the Ascendant Spirit. Again, we're just wanting to try and do more damage right now. My brain is thinking about what we're going to bring in Game 2 against this. I'll do it. We're not adverse to throwing a Spectral Sailor in the way. Maybe we bring in some Raven forms? We'll go ahead and let the attack through, seeing how no matter what happens, they gain the life. Second main from our opponent. Splashing red! Yeah, I think the goal will bring in some Raven forms. That sounds like a pretty good plan to me. That's not good. Guess we'll look for something with the Sailor. Hopefully find like a bounce spell or something in the form of a Borrower. You're a turn too late. They've easily won this game, so we'll just go ahead and go on to the next one. We don't run a whole lot of removal game 1, as is kind of expected in a deck like this. I think it is just bringing in Raven forms, actually. Might just get rid of the Pteramanders. They're good, but if we need more removal in this instance. I'm not entirely certain how this deck does against an Enchantress-style deck. I haven't personally run into one of these in a few days, but also I believe Orzhov Enchantments, or Enchantress, is in the Magic event that is being aired at the time as I am recording this. Or it's a deck in that particular event. So it's only to be expected that the higher ranks will emulate pro play. Again, play first. And again, like, we're not doing bad. 4 lands, 3 spells. I can curve out and do good things with it. Again, we'll play first because we have a brain. And it's snow covered and past. Let's see what our opponent does. Isolated Chapel. We play our Sailor and back to our turn. We'll go ahead and play the Shacklegeist, since I need to try and outrace our opponent. And really, once I get Kira, we're just going to have to hope we can do it. I'm not entirely convinced about this deck's prospects. Well, that fucking sucks. Bye, Kira. Or maybe they take Negate? I suppose there's an argument for both. Yeah, that's a fair point. Diamond up. Particularly sweaty. And very little in the way of... what's the word? How do I describe it? Very little in the way of, like, experimentation that goes on at this rank. If our opponent plays a lifelink ore, we almost lose immediately? Almost certainly they do have something to play on the Spirit Dancer, otherwise, yeah, you wouldn't bother to run it out. What is Demonic Embrace? Or Vigor? Enchant creature, +1/1. When it dies, goes back to... Okay. That's actually not that bad. Basically, everything you want. It's, you know, removal protection for your Spirit Dancer, so that's good. Did they not draw a land? Because I'm gonna be honest. I'll take a bad... Oh, nope. There we go. Don't hit the land. Don't hit the land. Don't hit the land. Jesus. I mean, I do love me some Enchantress decks, so I'm not, like, too terribly upset. That is not the Raven form I need, game. Neither is that. You are killing me, game. We will, however, go ahead and probably just attack with Kira. And then on their main phase, we will, with the Shacklegeist ability, tap down the Spirit Dancer. Do it on their main one. And before they go to combat, we'll tap it down. Gain ourselves some life and hopefully some breathing room. Next turn, we'll probably play a Faceless Haven and another Shacklegeist. Go ahead and do it now. Target creature we don't control. Tapping 2 untapped spirits we control. Yes, they're getting big, and yes, they're drawing cards, but kind of the perks of Voltroning one creature is that this deck can sort of punish that. Let's see. Orzhov Pathway from our opponent. Played white side. Hateful Eidolon, which is honestly a smart play to do. Yeah, that's a thing you can do. Again. No blockers, it's fine. Another Kira is nice. But yeah, Faceless Haven and a Shacklegeist. This way I can tap 1/2 and 1/2 to tap down both creatures. Honestly, I might actually start attacking with the Faceless Haven. So we'll go ahead and swing with the Stormtamer. Oh, I'm an idiot. I just played it. You're a dum-dum, Max. You forgot ordering. Okay, normally I'm an idiot and I forgot that Faceless Haven came into play that turn. But my reasoning I still stand by. We'll go ahead and do the same play as last turn. Tap down Spirit Dancer. Tap down Eidolon. Next turn, do the Faceless Haven thing, and hopefully be significantly less stupid. I suppose the Angelic Gift to generate a blocker would suck, but we can always tap something down with a Shacklegeist. And the 2 Kiras should give us a good amount of resiliency to the spot removal that this deck tends to run. You don't terribly see many sweepers in board-based decks like this, but maybe our opponent here has kind of made that sort of triage decision in their head to run one. It's possible. Yeah, you gotta have 2 removal spells, which you could technically do. I imagine there's going to be what's it called? Deadweight. Unless they were just really... I mean, yeah, it makes sense to look for something. What does our opponent do? He's hovering over something. We shall see. Good game. Did we win? Oh, my... Okay, it's not technically the same thing, but it might as well be. I think our sideboard playing was sound, and we'll just run it again. Thankfully, we didn't get too punished too hard for that Faceless Haven oops, which I'm very prone to do as a player. Game number 3, honestly doing pretty well, all things considered. I don't know if our... Because, I mean, I'm not big brain enough to, like, sideboard back to what the the base deck is. I don't think this deck does good when you try and, you know, shogi your opponent out of the game brain-wise. Our opponent's taking a good amount of time to sideboard. Hopefully we'll find something to do early on. Have another fairly good hand. Might be able to make something happen with it. I am happy that game, though, showed the strength of the sort of spirit package of this deck. Honestly, again, 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. Protection, both in the Shacklegeist and Kira. Kind of a nut keep, to be entirely honest. Again, we'll just Spectral Sailor on their turn. If they have a Thoughtseize, that'd kind of suck. But them actually bolting themselves is kind of important here. Oh, please let it be Thoughtseize. Hey! I was right. He might actually get rid of Kira. And I would not blame him a single damn bit. I think the choice is either Kira or taking the tempo away and maybe getting a Shacklegeist. A Stormtamer is a nice card. But it's not how I'm going to play around, or play with my early turns with. I usually play Stormtamer if nothing... There you go. If nothing else is available. We'll go ahead and keep the Rattlechains open as a way to give a spirit, like the Sailor, hexproof, so with any luck we can shake a removal spell. Go ahead and just play the Rattlechains now. On our turn, we can play a Snow-Covered, and then Shacklegeist here. We're not exactly gonna get a whole lot of use out of this, or out of the Shacklegeist right now, but right now we're just wanting to apply pressure. We're just gonna go ahead and draw and look for something. Honestly, a Curious Obsession is pretty good. SRAM's looking a little thick. He's a mean, mean man. Isolated Chapel from our opponent into an Eidolon. I am a little concerned. What does our opponent have? A Ghost Form. I'll actually take this turn to just Raven Form down the SRAM. That was an order lull. I should have attacked first. Wait, what? Right, it's exile. Right. Fucking shit. I literally think we just lost the game. Because of a weird fucking clause that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Being able to skirt exile is a little silly for cards, but whatever. God damn, that really pisses me off. What the fuck are we doing? Just gonna try and stem the bleeding. Remember, kids, reading the card explains the card. God damn, that fucking hurts a lot. Okay, that's our only removal gone. Yeah. That was a good game one. As the professor would say, reading the card explains the card. Anyway, on to game number 2. Game number 2 of Snow Blue Tempo. We'll go ahead and play first. This hand will do, honestly. 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, and things to do. Can't really ask for much more. It's not as explosive as our first games was, but still good enough that we won't look a gift horse in the mouth. White from our opponent, Soul Sisters. We will go ahead and play the island. And just attack with the Pteramander. See what our opponent plays. We might very well counter it. Probably will. In all honesty. Daxos, get the hell out of here. Let's see, our opponent's deck is a little more creature-oriented than most. I guess we will just attack and hold open the Saw It Coming. Hopefully get something big out of it. Is it just angels, or is it that? No, get that motherfucker out of here. So maybe some sort of angels or green-white life gainy style deck, who knows? This is gonna suck no matter what happens, but it just kinda has to be done. Yeah, I know. My name is Soul Warden, and I gain life. That is my job. Which is fine, honestly. Annoying, yes, but fine. Playing from our opponent. Oh, that's the awful, awful card that no one with the brain should ever run. I mean, it's a good budget thing, I guess, but I would never run this card. Get a spirit, that'd be great. That is not a spirit game. Actually, I can do something with that. If he blocks with the Valkyrie, I'll pump it with the Pteramander and make it big enough to kill him. See if our opponent makes the same mistake that I did last game and didn't read the card. Which is good, they did read. Of course, if our opponent, say, has another apparition in his hand, we're gonna hate our life, but can't win them all. Okay, so some sort of Angels deck kind of thing. That's pretty par for the course, all things considered. Yeah, you do gain life. We're gonna go ahead and be a little proactive here and try and kill them before they can gain too much life. Attack with the Pteramander and the Stormtamer. Priority being held for our opponent, I believe. If nothing else, we can Spectral Sailor to draw, or we can turn on the Faceless Haven as a blocker if we need to. Or just hold up in the Negate. If our opponent swings out, I'm not certain that's the correct play, but it's a play. It's one they can make. Alright! Our opponent's running a real creature-heavy deck. It honestly... These decks do run Coco sometimes, but I think I can just run creature, like run my already existing counter spells and do kind of well. Raven form's pretty cool. Maybe get rid of a Brazen Borrower, maybe an Obsession, maybe one Pteramander. Pteramander is a good card to cut. Like, it's strong, but it's not, like, core to this particular build. Of course, if you happen to run more budget versions of this deck, you might want to run more of them. Again, I mean, 1-drop, 2-drop things to do, and then a 3-drop. Can't ask for much more. What is that card back? It's very pretty. That is a very cool card back, not gonna lie. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, baby girl. Speaker from our opponents. You're not made of glass, baby girl. Thank you for moving. We'll go ahead and... You know, weirdly, if he attacks with this, I might actually throw a Sailor in front of it. As, like, bananas as that sounds. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. Hi, baby girl. I love you, my little fur baby. Honestly, yeah, I'll take this trade. With our opponent having 2 speakers, it's actually, like, really important to get rid of this thing. Go ahead and just play the 2 Siren Stormtamers. And if he gives me the trade, I'll just take it. I just gotta control his early pressure and then turn the corner and try and, like, out-control. White Bolt land from our opponent. Apparition. I mean... okay, I guess? If you attack with that speaker, I'm taking that trade. Go ahead, do it. A Speaker of the Heavens is kind of like an important card not to just throw away, in my opinion. Let it be known that, like, my gut instinct wants to keep open the Saw It Coming, but I think we need to get the Kira out so I can shake more removal spells. If they happen to Coco into something big, I do have a Raven form for it. So there is that. Like that, I can Raven form that all day long. Yeah, try and remove my thing now. You can't! Sucker. He might attack with the Skyclave, or the Apparition, at which point I'll just let it through, but that's not an issue. Do we be ballsy and try and get a land drop? I think we just play it safe and just kill the thing now. Again, opponent does get a bird, but that's not really much of an issue. We'll go ahead and not attack, however. As we stated before, we're just looking to turn the corner here. Scroll of Avacyn. That is a card in the format. 1 mana, sacrifice Scroll of Avacyn, draw a card. If you control an angel, gain 5 life. That won't help you now! I'm gonna be ballsy here. I'm gonna go for the land drop here. That'll do. I am gonna attack with the Spirit Dancer. Or Stormtamer. My brain's all over the place, beg your pardon. Go ahead and end the turn holding up a Saw It Come. Feeling pretty confident in where our board state is right now, gotta be honest. A Valkyrie from our opponent. Honestly, with Kira on the board, even if they convoke out another Tribunal, I think we're fine. So we're just gonna counter the spell. I believe the 1 mana they're holding is Scroll of Avacyn, right? Yeah. Draw a card in response. Thank God I don't gotta deal with Mana Tithe yet. That'll be a miserable time. Land from our opponent. Correctly attacking. I think I'll play the Pteramander. Keep a side open available and just swing with Kira. And try and race our opponent. They're not going to cash in the bird for the block yet. Our opponent only has white mana available. So that, like, eliminates some potentially really annoying things. We are okay with trading since we're higher on life total. That's actually kind of big. So we can play... Well, we'll go ahead and play the Geist. Tap down the 2 damage there to get 2 damage through. We'll just go ahead and attack with the Kira again. Keeping the side open, coming again. We're just looking to counter whatever big scary boy he has, just waiting in the wings. What that happens to be, I do not know. I'm sorry, what? Target legendary creature becomes a god in addition to its other types. Gets a 1/1 counter. 4 and sacrifice it to put an indestructible. This is a cool commander card. We're going to counter this, by the way. That's a cool commander card, and it shouldn't be played anywhere else. That is a bad card. Don't run it. I don't think I've seen a single legendary card out of what they own. Don't run that card. That card is bad and constructed. It's really aggressively bad. Just go ahead and... Yeah, we'll go ahead and attack. Leave open the Lofty Denial. If they do nothing else with their turn, we can always adapt the Pteramander into a big boy. It's so fucking funny. Such a fucking reach around to give one creature indestructible. Oh, they're manually tapping, so they're in the tank. Did you tap for nothing? I think you tapped for nothing. Whatever your plan is. Oh, you have a counter spell or something. We're just gonna let that through. Something is very wrong. What are you doing? Nothing? Alright. I mean, that's a thing you can do. Adapt the Pteramander to make it big, and then next turn we just kind of swing in with our stuff. Until they just win. I'm pretty happy with that as a game number 2. Thank you all for watching. Like the video if you liked it. Sub if you liked me. And if you have any constructive and nice questions, that's what the comments are for. Thank you all. Stay safe. And remember, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together.